The only limitations that you will have in life are the ones you put on yourself. And if you say, I could never have a $3 million practice, well, you're not going to have a $3 million practice. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Minute Friday. I'm your host, Dr. Glenn Krieger, and I want to talk to you today about your practice, right? If I said to you, you could have a $3 million practice really soon, and I've talked about this in the past, what would be your response? What would you say to $3 million a year practice? Is it unimaginable? Is it something that you think was within your power? Is it something you even want? Now, the reason I'm saying this is because in an aforementioned 5-Minute Friday, I talked about how when talking about the compounded power of time with money, how getting a big lump sum up front will allow you the opportunity to retire earlier. And I used in my example, in my spreadsheet that I always use for helping doctors understand their options with selling to OSOs and what have you, I did a $3 million practice. Now, I was blown away by people who said, $3 million practice? How many people do you know that have a $3 million practice? And the truth of the matter is, I know a lot of people with $3 million practices. I can't disclose data or statistics because much of it comes from my R&D group and I'm not allowed to disclose anything. But if I told you that I knew over 100 people with $3 million practices, I wouldn't be exaggerating. It's by no means what I would call a monster practice. Not when you know people personally who are good people and producing, who are doing over $10 million, $8 million. Now, it's not all about the money. We're talking about good quality clinicians who developed a great practice. And we all know, when I had Ben Fishbein on the podcast way back when, he did what he called 30 years of work in 7 years. And he built himself to $23 million. That's an outlier. But if you honestly want a bigger practice and you see a $3 million practice as unattainable, brother or sister, we need to talk. Because the truth of the matter is, you should be able to get yourself there without really too much effort. And don't give me the whole song and a dance while I'm in a really competitive area. I could connect you to people who are in super competitive areas who are doing more than $3 million a year. Now, again, I want to be clear here. This is not all about money and just money. Your vision may not be to be a $3 million practice. You may want to have a $1 million practice, and kudos to you for that. There's nothing wrong with that. I recently did a podcast episode with Marty and Chris Trockle, who are good friends and amazing human beings, and you should definitely check it out. But in their podcast, all they spoke about was their dream was having enough money to where they could each take off 6 months a year while the other one covers and travel the world doing mission work or traveling with their families and spending time. And any more money is just superfluous. So first of all, you should listen to that podcast. It's one of the most profound podcasts I've ever done. But again, for those of you out there who go to work for money's sake and want to maximize what they're earning, $3 million a year practice is within every one of your reaches. And if you're not able to get there, DM me. Let's talk about it. See if I can offer you some suggestions, as I've done with many, many doctors. But again, the only limitations that you will have in life are the ones you put on yourself. And if you say, I could never have a $3 million practice, well, you're not going to have a $3 million practice. And as I told you on a previous podcast, there was a time when I was in residency. Now remember, I'd already been a dentist for 20 years, so I didn't have a closed mindset of what was possible. But I didn't really realize what ortho could do. And I was at a big meeting with a big name speaker who I will keep nameless for right now. And my future partner, Doug Shaw, and I were sitting in the audience, and we approached this speaker after the lecture was done, and they were fully transparent. And come to find out, they were doing about $2 million a year at 50% overhead on 3 days a week. And they've since grown considerably from that number. But I remember hearing $2 million a year on 3 days a week at 50% overhead. And Doug and I, like two little schoolboys, looked at each other and go, that's $1 million of take home a year. And we looked at it and sort of laughed, like, how ridiculous is that? And so I understand the mindset for many of you out there who look at 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 8 and $20 million practices as being completely unattainable. But I will tell you that when I started my own practice, by year 4, we were already over $2 million, if I'm not mistaken. And so the guardrails I put on myself back then, thankfully I didn't listen to them. And I'm asking you, if being bigger, if being more streamlined, if making a better income is something you want, then reach for the stars. You got nothing to lose. Yeah, it's going to take some work, and more importantly, it's going to take some implementation. And that's where most people fail. So hopefully you're coming on the Summit Cruise, because that'll give us some real time to be able to sit and chat, and I'm always happy to take the time. If you're not going on the cruise, go to opsummit2024.com. Aside from getting exceptional information for you and your team that's going to make your life way better and way more productive, you'll have the opportunity to have these conversations with people like me and others, to where whatever you're struggling with in your practice, we can work on. And you'll make new friends who will be great guidance for you. So again, I'm always here to help in any way, but if you think something like $3 million practice is unattainable, I could literally introduce you to 100 or more people who would prove you wrong. Much love to each and every one of you. Wishing you a great day, and know that I'm always here for you.